could have creativity, but not necessarily have the business acumen to create wealth or to sustain wealth. There's a reason that people can tell in the product that you're selling. If it's not authentic, no matter how nice it looks, it's just something, it's intuitive, people can tell.
My guest today is an international singer, Nigerian superstar, songwriter, an actress, and she has done some amazing things. She's been host at multiple national TV series. Without further ado, Niyola!
Hey, drum roll necessary.
Come on now. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm actually really excited to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it's been
We've
a long
been pushing
time
this and pushing this and pushing this. Yeah.
This episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast is brought to you by our sponsor and our partner, Adrian Benjamin. Adrian is a wealth protection advisor who helps business owners, property investors to financially protect themselves, their family, and their businesses. Adrian will make sure that if the worst was to happen to you or your family, you will be able to financially survive. For more information, to know more how Adrian can help you protect your wealth, your families from the worst when it does happen, follow the link on the show notes and you will have access to his social media, a calendar link to help book a consultation call where he can actually see where you are in your wealth protection. First of all, I just want to say thank you so very much for obviously out of your very busy schedule and you decided to join me on the podcast to come and chit chat. You know, for those who don't really know you, what would you say is the best way to describe you? So we know you're a superstar, everybody knows you, but for those who don't know you, but what is the easiest way to kind of like make that sound rather than the noise? I love sound, big bang, boom. Come on, who is Niyola?
Okay, I already said I'm happy to be here, so thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. My name is Eniola Akinbo, by the way, popularly known as Niyola. If Eniola doesn't function, there's no way that Niyola can do anything or whatever else it is that I do. So what I always made sure is to ensure that Eniola stays grounded in who she is. And that's really where the work goes into, constantly ensuring that I am authentically myself. Because if you start from knowing what your identity is, you cannot go wrong. So where you don't know what you want, you know what you don't want. And that just helps you eliminate the odds.
Interestingly, we live in a world where a lot of people don't actually know who they are. And I'm sure you might want to either agree or disagree. A lot of people actually don't know who they are. You know, what they're made of, what is their resilience level, what level of happiness can they consume, and what kind of stress, you know, what's the level of stress they can take. So in life, whether we are, you've done so massively well in music, in acting. Like I've watched a lot of your movies. I've listened to a lot of your song. In fact, I've been listening to your song since the beginning of your career. You know, I remember. I remember when the rise of Afrobeat started and I started listening. You're one of my most female singer that when I listen to your song, it blows me away. And I mean, for those of you in London who never heard a song, make sure you go and listen to our songs. And honestly, like, oh my days, you sing from your heart, you sing from your soul, you sing like you just let it all go. And your music has been a major impact in my life as well. You know, so thank you for blessing me with that gift. You know,
thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So for you now, right? So let's talk about what was growing up like, and how did we get into becoming a superstar musician and actress?
Honestly, I stumbled. I always say that, but I mean now I understand that there are no coincidences, and everything always works together to align you with, who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. So I come from a large family of 13 people, including my mom and my dad. And I always had even cousins, family members, grow up with us in my house. So we always had all sorts of characters. It was a very, very art-based family. My father is one of the wisest people I've ever encountered, and I'm not saying this because he was my father. It's really one of the wisest people that I ever encountered. He just was a well of wisdom, and I'm not speaking intelligence. I'm talking about wisdom. He was just very wise, and so he also was a very creative person. And my dad died at 89. He passed at 89. And he still was in his study till his dying day. He was writing, never wore like spectacles or anything. He was that sort of man, just an outlier. And so he encouraged, discovering who you were. I think the first time I ever went to a concert, I was 9. I went to a Fumi Adams concert, and they were singing, "Little David played on the harp, hallelujah." And I was looking at the people on the stage. I was like, I could do that. I was like, I could do that, and that left a very, very long-lasting imprint on me. And I always just knew that I was going to sing, but I thought that the way it would work would be, I'll go to school, graduate, get married. And you know how you have the picture perfect way of things happening in your head. And I thought that, then, I'd be a journalist. I always wanted to be a journalist because I loved to read. I would read anything legible. Also credit to my dad, who ensured that you would read anything legible, anything with insight you had to read. If you were sweeping and you saw like paper squeezed on the floor and you didn't pick it up to open it to even see what was there, my dad would be like, "Did you not see that thing?" You know what I mean? Like everything legible you had to read. So growing up in that kind of environment where we would have morning devotion, even when we weren't having morning devotion, I had older ones who were way older than me. Some of them were in university. They would be playing like Kegite songs that they brought from uni and played it in the house. And some of them would go to like youth camp and come back. It was just a very arts-based environment that I grew up in. And my dad was very encouraging of discovering my talents. My dad, on every 1st of January, would throw a party called an incentive party for whoever passed. If you were between the grades, if you were between 1st and 3rd or 1st and 4th, you got a whole goat killed for you.
Wow.
If you were maybe like between 5th and 10th, then you'd have a chicken. So my dad always did all these things to encourage us to just be, to just grow. So coming from that kind of environment, I never really was a person who sang in church. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, I used to sing in church." I was in a boarding school my entire life. I know it's crazy. From even primary 1, I was in a boarding school. My dad thought that he always believed that I had a great future, and because of that, what he would take from the next person, he wouldn't take from me, because he said that I had a tendency to get spoiled because I was the last born, and I don't know what he saw in me. He just wouldn't take what he would take from everybody else from me. He was tougher on me than he was with everyone else. So that kind of taught me also how to separate a person from what they do, because I understood without a doubt that my father loved me. And I also understood that he didn't take nonsense from me. So I was able to understand that love doesn't mean that you condone nonsense from a person. Matter of fact, love actually means that you help a person to do what is right. My dad would probably bring out the Bible and tell you, "Look at Hophni and Phinehas. They destroyed Eli's life, and Eli went to this that was destroyed because of him." Anyway, a segue. But coming from there, one day, I think the first time that I would perform in school, like, cultural dance and poems and debate and all that stuff. I always sort of was in the spotlight from when I was a child. I was always that kid that people would just notice me one way or another, even if I wasn't trying to do anything. So one time in church, we were having this really huge conference where people were coming from, all over the world, and it was going to happen at the Trade Fair Center. And my brother had said he wanted me to sing. I didn't even know that I had the talent to sing. I didn't know. But apparently they would hear me when I was doing my chores, when I was singing. I think I was like 9. And I would do everything, breaking the plates when they sent me on errands, dancing, singing after Indian songs and breaking plates and just getting myself into trouble. So my brother said he wanted me to do a song by Marilyn Baker for the feast. And so I said, okay. So my brother and my dad started to coach me on how to perform at this thing. It was the biggest crowd I'd ever seen in my life. It was a huge crowd. I don't know if you're aware of Trade Fair. Trade Fair Center, yeah, one of the halls back in the day at Trade Fair, very huge. And I sang, and I remember that I sang there, and the entire room, half the room was in tears. Half the room was in tears. That was the first time I encountered myself. Wow. Because obviously I would perform in school with other people, do cultural dance, but I didn't really know. But it was just me and the person playing the piano, and everybody, half the people there were in tears. And the song was talking about God wants to give you a glorious new life, And I had people coming up to me, giving me gifts. Some people would give me, this shortbread, shortbread biscuits. Some people would give me, some people would give me money. Some people, I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, I must have done something right.
And you loved it.
I didn't understand that, I had a gift. So, and that's where I started to understand that I had something that not everybody had, because I thought everybody could sing like I would sing. And I keep mentioning my dad, because shout out to him, because he really was the one who discovered my talent. So my dad would give me a higher grade notebook and tell me to compose songs for morning devotion at 10. And he would give me a notebook and tell me when I was on holiday.
All right, wait. So your dad started asking you to compose songs from the age of 10?
Yeah, for the morning devotion, yeah.
Okay.
And that's really how it started. That's how the journey started. Now, how did I, do you want me to tell you how I got into it professionally, or do you want me to break
let's stop there for a minute. Thank you so much for obviously sharing what was childhood like. Because the thing is, two things. We either have childhood that breaks us, or we have childhood that makes us. And it's just so amazing to hear you basically share yours making you. Because at the end of the day, our upbringing has a lot of impact to play in our lives.
Absolutely.
And having a supportive parent as well helps you. I mean, the good thing in life is that every single parent out there obviously want their kids to do well. And you referring back to your dad, and as well as your family, your mother, and everyone else in your life, and your brothers. I grew up from a very large family as well in Africa, and I can understand, for your dad to have 11 children and being able to keep up with all of you, especially being the last child, that was amazing. So you discovered your talent. Your father discovered your talent from you singing. Now, you sound very American, right? You sound very American.
It's television.
You sound like you well traveled. Did you? So was there ever a time where, okay, from the age of 10, you discovered your talent and you went abroad, or you just basically grew in Africa and your talent started brewing up?
So it was really, so like I said, my dad made sure that we read everything legible. And before I started to travel, I had traveled the world through books, through documentaries. My dad was an avid reader. And so my dad was very, very big on spoken, how you talked, how you composed yourself, so I think that to a very large extent, I don't know, it really came from what I consumed growing up. Because a lot of times, the things that most of my peers watched and listened to didn't really interest me growing up.
Yeah.
I loved documentaries. At best, I would watch Indian films because of the music, because of the music and the dancing that was inside.
Everybody used to watch Indian movies in Nigeria those days. I was very glued to the screen growing up
And
watching Indian movies
I loved the Chinese
because they
ones
used
too
to
because I
sing a
love
lot and
martial
dance a lot.
arts. Yeah,
Great.
but
So
I
on
think
a
it was
more
largely the thing that I consumed. And I had friends from my church who were American who I just think is what I grew up watching and just what I heard from
so
like the whole front.
let's move into how you basically got into the mainstream of your career, the mainstream of music. How did that begin for you? So how did we get into, signed up into, at that time when you joined music by a very good label?
I had a brother who was like big in Nollywood at the time. He was like the first person who did like reasonable, believable special effects. I don't know if you ever watched the movie Igodo.
Yes, I remember
It
that
was my
movie.
brother who did the special effects for that. Like he was known to be the one that he wanted special effects that looked like special effects that didn't look like like what we know special effects to somehow look like in Nigeria. It was him. So he was in basically he was in the entertainment industry. So I was already well acquainted with a lot of the actors. I already had an idea of what the industry was like. I never got carried away by the glitz and the glam or anything, but I always just felt like this is home for me. And Sound Sultan, God rest his soul, lived in the same clothes as my cousins in Satellite Town, who I used to go to their house a lot, and I was there for a while. And somehow, Sound Sultan was family friends with them, and I met Sound Sultan, and Sound Sultan had asked me to come sing backup for him. At the time, I was also modeling, so I was a model. I was modeling for then National Encomium, and they used to have this Amen competitions, and then they would have the starlet part. Like what Headies is today, that's what Amen was. But they will have the starlet part where they do the competition for up and coming artists. I basically performed with Sound Sultan and Baba D. And I entered for the starlet competition and I was first runner up. So I met all these stars, Paul Place, Slam. I met Plantation Boys at the time. I was also very young. I think I was either still in high school, I was just fresh out of high school. Not to say that there was no problem in my house because my father didn't have a problem with me, but I had a sister that just believed that that if I entered entertainment, I was going to become a demon. So it caused some friction in the family because one of my brothers was like, yeah, no, you're not going to do this. And my dad said, yeah, she will. And then it was like, so all that was happening. And I go for this. My dad tells my sister to take me to this competition. And I go there and I meet all these people. After turning up as first runner up, I start to get all these offers from different people. Come and sing with us, come and perform with us. I didn't understand the first thing about nothing. I was maybe like 14 or 13. I don't remember. I was very young. So what happened was I wound up working with Faze on a song called All My Days, Faze and Cobams at the time. And then I was backing up for Sound Sultan. And so one day I was with Faze I followed Faze to a video shoot that the tribe were having. Oh yeah, video shoots. Will be
Yeah.
about yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
when I went there, that's how I met LD, Freestyle, and all of them. So I started working with Freestyle. I started working with LD, and then from there, I think I had gotten signed on a label called West Side, which was the same label as Freestyle and Phase were on, and that's how the journey started. That's really how
Wow.
the journey started. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Can you hear
So
me?
I really didn't plan to. I stumbled into. Matter of fact, it was with begging and saying, "You should do this. You should do this." So
Yeah.
I essentially just stumbled into a career in music.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, one of the things I wanted to now start to relate to, having having told me your story, and obviously the guys who are going to be watching this on the different channels and listening to this, and now I want to relate music into business, and I want to relate music into entrepreneurship. All right, business entrepreneurship is all it's all in one sort of close concept. A lot of musicians, actresses. I mean, you've done so well with Netflix as well. You've been,
Yeah,
your movies on Netflix and everything. When people go through this aspect of their life and then they go into having, signed record label backing them up, one of the things that is most common is most of these stars never actually start to think about investment. You know, sometimes your music starts and all of a sudden you're making money, you're living good life, all this attraction, everything is coming at you. But there is something that I've noticed, that a lot of actors, they get carried away by the fame and not
yeah,
investing, and then they always find themselves sometimes. I mean, I was born in the 80s. I'm 43 years old. And in the days where I've grown from University of Benin to now, I've seen actors, actresses that, I mean, Santobi was one of them. All right, Santobi was one of them. I think he's late now as well,
yeah,
and a few others like Idris, Abdul Karim, and all these guys that the music is gone, and from what we see on media, there is nothing basically. When you guys are in this industry, how come? I want you to speak. I'm not. I want you to speak for yourself and speak for the industry, maybe, or speak for the guys. How come nobody ever thought about? Okay, let me start to invest. What can I invest in that can create wealth for me?
right. So I think it's a systemic problem because you have to understand that music wasn't the sort of thing that people did. It wasn't a thing of prestige until now. It seemed like what you did when when you didn't have any ambition in life. You had to literally convince your parents that trust me, I'm not useless. This is what I want to do. So at the time, people really struggled to even get to that place of being accepted. And then when you now start to get accepted, you don't really. A lot of people didn't have the orientation that we have now. Now you have the advent of social media where you can just click on your phone and you have access to tons of information at the same time. But it wasn't the case at that time when I started out, and I've been through generations of musicians. Thankfully, I started out pretty early. You had to literally take your CD from wherever you were in Yaba. You had to take it to Alagbado, to Ray Power. You had to take it to Lekki, to Rhythm FM. And at those times, the last thing anyone's thinking that is just like passion, 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 passion. Because the truth is, I believe that the way that this thing is created, you could have creativity, but not necessarily have the business acumen to create wealth or to sustain wealth. And that's why you're supposed to have business managers. It also tells you what the economy and the state of the country itself is. So 8 out of 10 times, people would take, oh, that's my friend, and I'm going to make my friend my manager, who has not the slightest and faintest idea what they're doing. Not even necessarily about the business, but on managing anything or getting anything together. And I think that a lot of people are guilty of putting people in their corner to manage what you want to sustain you and your generations in life, and you put it in the hands of inept, incompetent people. And so it trickles down to affect what your productivity is. And so when they even make money, you realize that they're using it to service a lifestyle that's not sustainable. One, there was the problem of there wasn't that much remuneration at the time because a lot of things were funded by even the artists themselves. So the industry didn't only start to become lucrative maybe not too long ago, to be
Not
honest.
too long ago, yes, you're
Not
right.
too long ago. And even now that it's lucrative, people still don't understand because as a country, as a continent, Nigeria, we don't necessarily have a culture to invest. And it's because even when the people who have the spending power get the money, they don't, it's not a place that supports the young up and coming. Like you're a young person, you have this dream, you have this idea, you want to build this thing. Where are you going to find a person who's going to invest, even if it's 100K in you? No, they would much rather put their money on something like
Like weddings,
parties or,
like even spraying the money.
spraying the money and all that
Spraying the
stuff.
money.
So people are really first trying to survive. And there's also the issue of people wanting instant gratification. No one's willing to understand that if I start now, I personally, I had a farm in Nigeria. I had a farm. I had a business. Oh God, I don't think I can say this on national TV. I used to sell lingerie and a whole bunch of stuff that I would get from like Malaysia and then just sell in Nigeria. I used to sell anything sellable just because me, I just anything I see, anything my hands find to do. And then when I was in uni, I did a lot of jingles. I did jingles for radio stations. I did jingles for Oleum petrol stations. I did jingles for Coca-Cola. I did for Heineken. Me, I was always on my grind. You know, um, but the things even that I invested in, I had when Uber came. So when Uber first came, then I had a car. I had an Uber. I always would try my hands on different things, but I think that the biggest issue is the orientation is not there because people are like, okay, I want to invest. What do I invest in? What do I invest in? And if I invest, how much do I make from what I invest in? Am I going to make the money back in 5 months, 6 months? People want that instant gratification. So you end up shooting yourself in the foot because now you've not put your money where your mouth is, and then when anything happens, you're just one sickness away or one incident. And I've had my own fair share of being stupid, to be honest. And it's not really because I was stupid, because life just happened. I had a timber business. I had a farm that I partnered with one of my friends, and I also was a consultant for a company while I was doing my music. And what happened was there was the place where we used to go and get the timber from. There was all this kidnapping and stuff. So that village became isolated. So we had 2 containers of timber that we had to abandon in the village to run because they were kidnapping people and killing people. So I lost a lot of money. I got into even debts because of that, and everything just started to close in on me at the same time. It was like one business after the other and the other and the other and the other. Yeah. And I think what really saved me was, like I said, being able to understand that if you take me and put me in a desert, as long as I'm still myself, I will be able to still find a way to pick myself back up and survive. And so what I think is that a lot of people limit themselves to even just singing. Like when I started asking people like, you're not going to sing again. I'm like, I'm going to sing. I'm still singing. Matter of fact, this movie that I first made, I did like 6 of the songs on it, and that's work. But people's understanding of making money is also very different. And then in America, not even just America, like I said, I make soundtracks for movies, for film. I did one of the soundtracks on King of Boys. I write for artists in the States. I write for film. I A&R. So even if you're not hearing me recording and putting music out every 2 seconds, I'm constantly still working and doing things for myself. And I broker deals for people where, oh, this person needs this, that person needs that. I bring them together and I get my cuts. You know what I mean? Like anything my hands find to do, I do, because I don't limit myself to looking at myself like I'm a singer. I think that that's the understanding of it. I think most of musicians and actors just limit themselves to, this is what I am. There are things that I will not do because I know who I am, but there are also a lot of things that I can do. just because I now have the advantage. Because fame is supposed to actually give you an advantage. It's like a currency in itself. So it means that you have credibility. People know
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. So that's really what I think it is. Those are the issues and what I think are the factors that hinder people.
This episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast is brought to you by our sponsor and our partner, Adrian Benjamin. Adrian is a wealth protection advisor who helps business owners, property investors to financially protect themselves, their family, and their businesses. Adrian will make sure that if the worst was to happen to you or your family, you will be able to financially survive. For more information, to know more how Adrian can help you protect your wealth, your families from the worst when it does happen, follow the link on the show notes and you will have access to his social media, a calendar link to help book a consultation call where he can actually see where you are in your wealth protection. Interestingly, you say on the back end. I know sometimes when we talk about business, the few times we've had a quick chit chat, you're like, yeah, and you kind of shy away from me. You are an entrepreneur. You are a born natural entrepreneur, Niyola.
You
You
think
are
so?
yes. Like look at the way you've analyzed the issues in the industry. Especially for fame. People who are famous. I was having a very interesting conversation with someone the other day, and there's a very big footballer coming to the podcast sometime soon, and we're having a chit chat. And when we started talking, he said once upon a time he played in England. He played in England. He played in his particular team, and he repatriated all his monies back to Nigeria, all of it, and barely basically even bought an asset. He rented a nice penthouse and all of that. So anyway, cut long story short, now he's trying to now invest in real estate because he's been following my content and been watching what I was saying. And he's like, you know what? You makes absolute sense. Honestly, how come nobody told me how to invest in real estate here in the
That's
United
the
States? And I
issue.
didn't.
Nobody knows how to do it. And Nigeria, there's no, in the UK or in the West, that you have the credit systems, you have things that can help support you.
You have
Nigeria is
leverage
just,
power. You have leverage
yeah, but
power.
here
Credit.
you don't have anything. If somebody takes your money and runs away, I remember there was a time I gave somebody about four M as a deposit for a car that I was gonna buy. Do you know till today, and the car and the money I've not seen. I tried to arrest the guy. Somebody else had arrested him, so they were waiting for him to be bailed so that I can pick him up and arrest him again.
Yeah.
Like there's no judicial system, there's no legislation to actually support the average person unless you have, and when you now use your veto powers, like they're saying, oh, because you are famous or because you have money, you're taking advantage of people. So it's like everybody's just like, let me just keep my money, let me be looking at it. Let me be looking at the money and the money be looking at me. So people want to invest, but people don't know what to trust. And so that's why when the pyramid schemes came, people put their money in it. But of course those things never end
You lost a lot
well.
of money.
Yeah,
You
people,
lost
those
a lot
things
of
never end well. So the and all those things, Nigerians are actually very hardworking people, very hardworking, extremely intelligent people, but people don't know how. So we need more of you guys. Maybe this is why God sent you to the abroad, so that you can come back and help people back home, so that you can give the education and help people to know. And also, I think that there's the issue of people have this lofty idea of, if I don't have millions of money, I cannot invest. And they don't understand that there's also you can start from someplace as well. So,
So interestingly, I love the way you say that just now. Like, we're trying to amplify wealth creation, we're trying to amplify success, and also we're trying to amplify a lot of other ingredients that brings that massive component of being successful together. So this brings me to my next question to you. You know, being successful is one thing. And I always say this: the easiest part is becoming successful.
yeah,
You rise
maintaining
to the
it.
top. You rise to the top of your career, and it's all successful. But the the most
The
difficult part
sustenance.
is to maintain success. Anyone
Yeah.
can build a house, but maintaining that house for the next 40 years is what we're talking about.
Right.
Tell us, how's your journey been in maintaining yourself? Tell us, how has that journey been maintaining your sanity of being famous and being a female entrepreneur singer and an actress as well?
Honestly, I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. It's not been easy and it's not easy. But it's like I said, you start from the place of knowing your identity. And at first, and I said to you that I was also very stupid at some point where I was looking at myself from the eyes of, I'm an artist. And I was so many other things, and everyone but me saw it. I told you I was consulting for my friend's company, and like my friend used to come to me with, and this guy was about almost 12 years older than me at the time. He would come to me and like he would pick my brain basically and tell me, "Oh, this is what I'm trying to do." I'd be like, "Oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do this. I think you should do that." He said, "I think I'm going to hire you and put you on my payroll." I said, "No, come on." I was like, "No," I was like, "No," because we're friends. He was like, "No," and he put me on his payroll and he paid me every month, and I was consulting for him. And it had nothing to do with music or whatsoever. I think he had a consulting firm. It's not been easy, basically, but I think it starts from the place of understanding who you are, knowing your identity. Because if I knew then what I know now, I think I have the grace and the luck and the privilege that I started out pretty early. So all the mistakes that I made couldn't really do as much damage as it should have done. Because if I started out doing music maybe in my 20s, it would have probably hit me more. And I'm not saying that I didn't take a hit. I did take a hit, but it was not anything that like I couldn't get up from. Because like I said, I was able to see myself as an individual. And so because I saw myself as an individual, I had to look inwards and look at myself. There was a time where I would come to the States like every 2 months. And every time I came here, I would go to Yaba Market as an artist. I would buy fabric. I had a friend, in fact, who was from New York who'd be like, you don't have shame. I'm like, shame for what? People only have as much power as you give them. Am I stealing money? Am I doing anything illegal? Am I doing anything demeaning? Absolutely not. So I would go into Yaba Market, I would buy fabric, I would give them to tailors there. They will make this clothes. This is before fashion even became a thing in Nigeria. And I would travel to the States with them so that I didn't have to change naira to dollars. Whatever money I spent when I was in America was whatever I made from whatever I sold from those clothes. And it would be Ankara and stuff like that. So I always just looked for how to simplify problems. Like if I needed, for instance, oh, I need $10,000 to do this. I think of it like that's $1,000 in 10 places. How can I make $1,000 10 times? And I'll say, okay, if I make this from selling this, if I make this from doing this, if I can make sure that I get one gig every weekend, one wedding every weekend, just being able to just understand that I'm a person at the end of the day, and this is my 9 to 5. Because there was also a time that I was very stupid to do everything for free for people because it came naturally to me. So I really didn't understand that, no, this is your 9 to 5 because it came naturally
It's
to
your
me.
job. Yep.
This is my job.
Yeah.
All this advice that you're giving to people, this is your 9 to 5 because it comes naturally to you. That's what God has given to you to help you
Yes.
to sustain yourself.
Yep.
So I would write, I had a magazine that I was writing for my aunt, and I was doing it for free. And she was using it to rake cash. I was doing research. I was just being a naive, silly young girl because at the time I didn't really have need for money. And then there's also the part where in Nigeria you have the thing where you have so many people that are dependent on you.
Yeah.
And it's not because they can't push their own weight. It's just because in Nigeria, the first person to do well, you have to just carry everybody along. And we don't understand that, to be honest. Like carrying everybody along also has different faces. You have to understand that you can do things for people without necessarily doing things for people. Because at the end of the day, you will still look like the witch, you still look like the wicked person when you cannot bow to every whim, that they had. So I made all these silly mistakes in the past. But what has sustained me has been always understanding that I'm a person. And I think that was ingrained in me from home, from my foundation, and also the people that I was around. I was attracted from, I'm always attracted to intelligence. I'm always attracted to people that get things done. I have friends in the industry, but even the friends that I have in the industry don't have industry friends. And there's nothing wrong with the industry, it's just that I see people, I don't just get carried away by the fame or the glitz and the glamour. So the people that I was friends with were people in industry, people in banking, people in different walks of life that helped me to learn things, that helped me to grow. I had people in real estate, I had people in oil and gas, I had people in different industries who influenced my thinking and helped me to have that growth mindset. So that if I even wanted to do something, instead of going to meet somebody who was in music and say, oh, I want to release this song, I can go to you for creative advice. But I would go to somebody who is in marketing and say, so I want to release this song. What do you think? Do you like this flyer? Do you like this poster? This is the strategy that I want to use to release it. I want to do giveaways. And they'll be like, okay, you know what? I can give you 10 Apple phones and then you can add it to your campaign. You know what I mean? I just was able to understand, like I said, that I'm a person and look at it as that. And that really helped me.
Interestingly, like whilst you were, because I'm taking notes as you're talking. So whilst you were saying something, I had to learn this in a very different way. So I'll give an example. I started doing real estate and people ask me, why am I doing podcasts? I started doing real estate and I've written 2 books now. And people ask me, why you're doing property, Abi? It's not property you're doing. Why are you writing books? Why are you doing podcasts? Why are you on social media? And I said, I am my own promoter. That's number one. Rule number one, I am my own promoter.
Yeah.
Now, what I learned to do by becoming my own promoter was to become a person of value.
Yeah.
And when I become a person of value, and then people start to pay for the value that I can provide. And you're very right. A lot of artists hasn't opened up their mind to seeing things from different angles. And I think this is one of the reasons why people play football and after playing football, their career died. I had a very interesting conversation with one of my friends. His name is Dr. Drew Uy, and we had a very interesting conversation. He said Mike Tyson was bankrupt, but branding and understanding the power of monetization through media revived his career.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, a lot of footages from all the boxing activities he's ever done, even now, podcast appearances, co-collaborations, live interviews and features and so many other things revived his entire career. And all of a sudden now, he's back on the game. He's driving Rolls Royce. He's living well again. He's flying business. He's flying private jets again, and he's making so much money. So, and you're very right. Until we start to have the right conversation with the right people, and obviously expanding our mind, there is work to be done. There is so much work to be done, and regardless of what you're saying now, this topic is a big topic that a lot of artists are still not aware of.
Yeah. And
Actually,
there's also, because there's the thing is that people will always want to box you in a corner, and it's a tough fight, especially speaking from a female perspective. People want to see you as what they want to see you as, and it's a long game. But if you have the understanding of where you're trying to go, you're going to insist, and your insistence is the consistency of what you do. For instance, I always used to say to people that just get me in the room, get me in the room. Once they hear me talk, I know that I know what I'm saying. The rest should be easy. Just get me in the room. But a lot of times people don't get in the room.
no.
People want to get carried away by the outward. When I meet people, they be like, take a picture, take a picture. I'm like, yeah, I will take a picture, but more than the picture, I covet a relationship with that person.
Yes.
When they will say, oh, go for this networking event or go for that networking event, and it's great, I love networking and there's nothing wrong with it. I realized that a lot of times I would have all these contacts, we would start all this conversation, and it never amounted to anything because it's just much ado about nothing. But the way to streamline this thing is that when people see it, like, oh, that artist, no. You yourself, you have to first of all identify what you want to be perceived as.
Yes.
And then you start to, like you said, personal value. And then you start to portray yourself. I had to leave social media for a while. First of all, I don't really like social media that much because I'm a very private person. But when I do social media, the control is in my hands because it's my life. I get to show you how much I want to show you, what I want you to see, what I don't want you to see, because I have the control. I'm not going to dance to your tune because you are the audience. Because at the end of the day, there's something I used to say. The people who shout on social media are not really the ones who are going to come pay for the shows. They don't have the money to pay to come watch the shows. The demographic that makes you famous are the ones on social media. But the ones that come and watch you, who will pay money to come and actually watch you, who will help you put that money in your pocket, you don't recognize them because you get carried away by the noise. So everything comes down to you deciding that this is how I want to be seen. Everybody will be like, Niyola, just give us bedu, give us party jam. And there's nothing wrong with that. I can do that. But how do I sustain it? Can I dance? Yes, I can dance. But when I go on stage, who is going to do the performance for me? Am I comfortable dancing for 2 hours on the stage? That's not my personality. I have depth, and there's nothing wrong with the person who doesn't have it. This is just who I am. And if my personality doesn't reflect in the music that I make, people, there's just something, there's a reason that people can tell in the product that you're selling. If it's not authentic, no matter how nice it looks, it's just something, it's intuitive, people can tell. So if you have decided that this is who I am and this is what I want to be and this is what I want to show to you, let them talk from now till tomorrow. If you like, say that my music is too slow, it's for lovers, there's no problem. I used to say to them that I'm like, there's 121 million people in Nigeria. I just need a million. A million consistent fans. That's good enough for me. And I learned that from Dangote. This man will sell sugar at 10 naira. But everybody in the country needs sugar every day. Everybody in the country needs salt every day, but it's 10 naira. So think about 10 naira times even 5 million people every day.
Wow. Interestingly, there are two things you said here that I just picked. It says demographic make you famous, but people who make you famous are not the one that's going to actually pay, pay for the
Yeah, so
product.
you have to know your audience, know your
And
niche.
absolutely, absolutely, and I totally, totally agree. Agree with that. Wow, we can go on and on and on and on and on tonight, and we're not gonna go. We're not gonna finish this podcast. I'm definitely gonna be bringing you back because
I would love to be
it's interesting that we've started this journey now where we've brought you here. You've shared us, you know, a little bit about business, more about your growing up and how you got to where you are. And I'm so super excited that I see a real big business coach here. I see a lady who can coach other females to becoming the greatest version of themselves because you know why? You've got the experience, you've got the knowledge, you transformed, to becoming, the greatest version of yourself. And I do 100% believe like your voice is not just the movie alone, your voice is not just the music alone. Your voice, there's a lot of inspiration that I can hear. There's a lot of inspiration that I can, consume from you just talking to you on this podcast. Niyola, thank you so much for being here. Just before we wrap up this episode now, I read something about, you on the net, and it says you ran away from Nigeria, all right, to the US, and you're sick and tired of Nigeria now because you've had enough because you just felt like, it was just kind of pressing you down. And I felt the same, right? I lost over 150,000 pounds in Nigeria about 2015, and I returned back to England, and I became a delivery driver. And I was driving, delivering parcels. From that, I became an Uber driver, and I was driving over 18 hours a day. And to now
Wow.
going forward to building a multi-million pound property portfolio here in the UK. I've mentored
Take me to
over.
your leader.
Say that
Show
again.
me the way.
And this is it. Like I can wait. I'm gonna be like there's something huge is about to happen, and I can't wait. Having people like you around me, and look at. And by the way, I just wanted to give you a quick credit. I think I haven't given you this credit. I should give it to you. You are the most realist superstar have met recently. You're so
Oh, wow.
calm.
Thank you.
You're just amazing. Like me, you've been
Thank
chatting
you.
like we know each other for like 20 years, and and me and you've been talking like we know each other for 20 years. And a lot of superstars, over time I have had I haven't I have had engagement with different superstars. You're just so humble and you're good the way you
Thank
are, and I
you.
just want to say thank you for being who you are.
Thank you so much.
So my question: they say you ran away from Nigeria. What was the reason behind that?
So, and I know this is going to sound weird. I think from when I was a kid, I've never really felt home in Nigeria. And I figured it out now. I used to think it was a Nigeria thing. I think that just generally I just, I find home in people. I find home in things. And I think that was because I just always thought very differently. I
Yeah.
always was the one who thought differently from everybody. When everybody's thinking like this, I'm thinking in the other direction. So it was always tough for me in that I tried so many times to blend. I tried so many times to try to sound like my peers. It was not working. It wasn't working for me. And then coming into an industry where, because you're a female, people just naturally expect that because you are a female and you have, boob, and you have, what I mean. You have the
It's
makeup
all
of a
about
woman.
sex. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
all
like the
about the
first thing that
sexual.
people want to say, and it's crazy. The first thing that people want to see when they look at you is that they want to sexualize you, and it's great. And it was weird at the time because people used to be like, "What's wrong with this one?" Like people are even saying you're hot and you don't like it. It used to irritate me because I used to want people to see me beyond the physical, and so no matter what I did, somebody will always want to dump down. And I'm not
Yeah.
feminist. I don't believe in that. I believe in the Lord Jesus. Hallelujah.
Come on.
And we don't
Come
do
on.
feminism, but they just wanted me to shrink myself
Yeah.
so much that I didn't understand how to be like that. That's not how I was raised. That's not how my father taught me. That's not how I saw life. So I think that my parents died. Both my parents passed, and my mom had passed. And I just felt like, yeah, this is it. I'm done. I need to get up out of here because people didn't even ask me, how are you? People didn't care what I was dealing with. People were just like, where's the music? Where's the music? Where's the music? Where's the music? This and that. And I'm like, these people are crazy. Like, do you understand that I'm a real person? So I took the first chance I got and I just got out because I was already bicontinental at the time. I would be a month in New York, 2 months in Nigeria, back and forth like that. So I left and I was like, if I have to start from scratch, I'm going to start from scratch. But, you know, what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to do things the wrong way. I also wasn't one of the people who was like, I want to live in the West. I always said I can't live anywhere outside of Nigeria because you live in Nigeria, you live like a king. Like, you know how it
Yeah.
is. Like,
Yeah. Of
you
course.
live like a king. In this place, when I'm telling you, I answer all my problems by myself. Nobody to
Yourself.
help.
OYO.
Nobody to
On
help
your
me.
own.
And people think it's pride, people think it's prideful or whatever, but it's just not what we're used to. I clean my house by myself, I go to the grocery store by myself, I drive myself, I do everything by myself. And it's just not stuff that I'm used to. These are not things that are luxurious back home. It's like things that people do to earn a decent living, like, and I came here and I had to start doing everything myself. It stressed me out. It really stressed me out. When I first moved there, I was like, oh God, you want to do something? Nigeria, you want to even maybe get your license. You already have somebody in there who's going to help you sort something out. You just show up and you do this one, you will queue, you will wait in line, you
You
will
know.
stay the whole thing, do what you have to
You,
do. It's not a respecter of persons or position or anything. So Nigeria was just, I had it to here. And I believe that Nigeria wasn't allowing me to be the best version of myself. And even the version of myself that I was already too much. So I'm like, how will I find the best version of me if I'm not even fully myself and I'm already too much for you? So I had to tell myself that it's a good compromise to make. That I would just
yeah.
come here, find the best version of myself. That's really what it was. And
Interestingly,
it's been
interestingly,
back and forth since then, back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you said that. That's exactly what happened to me after I lost a lot of money in Nigeria as well. Exactly what happened to me. I was like, I'm not going back. And to be honest, I haven't been very frequent in Nigeria since 2015 myself as well. And yes, it's easy. Just sometimes Nigeria does put that pressure on you where You feel like sometimes you're not good enough, and sometimes you feel like you're not human because it's just about go, 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 go. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that. I really, really, really appreciate it, Niola.
I
Thank you
wanted to
so much.
share one thing
Yeah.
before I leave. You said something about being a business coach. I don't know that I'm a business coach or anything like that, but I do know that I have a wealth of knowledge and information that I would really love to dispense, especially to females, women, and young people there. You hear every day people are killing themselves. You hear every day people saying they're depressed. I'm like, you're 25. What do you mean? My life is over. Your life is just starting. What do you mean?
Yes.
People, I have a wealth of information to dispense to people basically about finding out who they are, their identity, how to navigate life, how to basically know who you are. And it's not a business coaching or anything, but I do have a program that I do for women. It's called Women of Wisdom. And so I don't know if anybody is interested in coming
I'm
on
gonna I'm gonna
that.
be collaborating with you. Don't worry. I'm gonna be collaborating
Yes,
with you. Like I
yes.
am a business coach. I'm a business mentor. I have nine. So actually, 65% of my followers are females, and they've been recently hitting me
Wow.
hard. Like, oh, bring more females on. Bring more females on. So, like literally, I cannot wait. Once this episode goes out, and I'm sure everyone is
I
gonna be
find that people just don't, people need someone to talk to.
100%. I
People need
couldn't agree.
direction.
I couldn't agree with you more. And especially in a world where a lot of female entrepreneurs are on the rise. So having people like you who have been through life at the top, not
Yeah,
at the like literally you rose to the top of your career, and now to start creating multiple streams, to help yourself and to help others. And I think that is something that's going to be very super inspirational to a lot of women, especially
yeah.
internationally. And I cannot wait to see what we where this is going to take us. And I'm buzzing. Like I am Neola, I am buzzing. I am buzzing,
I'm
trust me.
excited. I'm excited for what we'll do. I really am.
This episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast is brought to you by our sponsor and our partner, Adrian Benjamin. Adrian is a wealth protection advisor who helps business owners, property investors to financially protect themselves, their family, and their businesses. Adrian will make sure that if the worst was to happen to you or your family, you will be able to financially survive. For more information, to know more how Adrian can help you protect your wealth, your families from the worst when it does happen, follow the link on the show notes and you will have access to his social media, a calendar link to help book a consultation call where he can actually see where you are in your wealth protection. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time, for being here. And guys,
Thank
make
you for
sure you
having
go and
me.
check out Neola. On the show notes, we're gonna have all our links to our profile on social media. Make sure you give her a follow. Make sure you check out all what she's doing. She's very private on social media. Dr. Daniel is gonna be in your face with Neola doing a lot of
I
Instagram live.
surrender to your government. Don't worry. I surrender to your government. I don't
Let's
have a
do it.
problem with all these things. It's just like I said, I had to take. It's okay. People don't know that. Like, it's okay to take a break to
Yeah.
re-strategize. I always used to say that I'm the sort of person who would spend 23 hours to plan so that I can spend 1 hour, 23 hours to plan so that I can spend 1 hour to execute, instead of just doing trial and error, and you don't know where you're going. So I'm big on knowing that, okay, let me take a break and study and know what to do. And so if you're gonna work with me, I'm down. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's
Thank you.
do it.
Thank you so much for coming, and I really, really appreciate your
Thank
time.
you for having me. And
Thank you
thank you
so
to
much.
everybody listening. Shout out to you. God bless you. I hope to see you guys soon.
Great, fantastic. Take care.